Hey everyone, welcome to the channel, All Things Middle Earth here with a video breaking down the 5 short videos the devs just posted today on information for Season 6. So if you want a summary of all the information put out based on all the information we have previously put out, that's what I'm going to try and do here today. So stay tuned, I'm going to break down kind of each slide we got to show information for the new season coming up. Okay, so if you didn't watch the devs video, they posted the link to it in the main Discord, and then within that video, there are links to other videos. There's 5 total from what I saw. If there's more, let me know because I'm missing information. But basically, if you watch through the first video at the very end, it has the option to click 2 videos, and you can kind of go from one to the next, so I went through and looped and made sure I got all of them. So I believe there's 5. And they talked a little bit more in detail about what this season is going to look like. Again, no groundbreaking new news, but just clarifications, kind of specific graphics, if you will, for how things are going to look. So starting out, the first thing it says is that the ring at Dol Guldur is now radiating an immense amount of magic. This is the reason, if you will, behind this new season and what's going on. But the ring radiating this amount of power or magic, or whatever you want to call it, has woken these 8 rings of power, which is causing what's happening now in this season 6, and it's severed connection between these regions. So everything's going to be split up into these 8 regions, as you see here. There are 8 rings. I feel like it's an odd number, so I don't actually think this is representative of the 8 of the 9 rings given to men. I think it's just 8 rings of power, just like the tacticians, the players all have like a ring of power. I think it's more in that vein of just in the game, these areas have rings of power that have been awoken by the one ring. Here, the only difference we have here is just the text saying that to unsever the land, to reconnect the lands of Middle Earth, we need to use these things called scout towers, which they have mentioned previously. We get a little bit more detail about what those are going to look like specifically. We also get some clarification that Dol Guldur is still going to be on the map and an active part of this season. I'm not too thrilled about this, to be honest. To me, they're adding these lesser rings, whatever you want to call them, these different regions. There's been this kind of talk of Kingdom. Again, I've not played Rise of Kingdoms, but it sounds similar to it, a little bit like it. It sounds very interesting. It sounds like players are going to work and build up power and take areas and regions and then form their own kingdoms, that kind of stuff. But then in the video, they say that the ring will still be kind of the end all be all, the main goal. You'll just need to expand and grow to get to that point. But again, it just seems like layering the ring on top of this kind of new, unique, not new, like just new to Rise to War, but it just seems like a bit much to me. So curious what you all think, but I feel like adding the one ring as like still the final thing is like, all right, it's just the same thing. You're just going to make it different to get there. So I wouldn't be mad if they just said, we're not doing Dol Guldur one season, but hey, that's just me. The next thing which we did know, we get specific clarification again for, is that there are going to be no factions. You will not go in and choose which faction you want to play for. Instead, you will pick a region that you want to start in, which is pictured here. So we have these 8 regions. There's actually 9 regions. Amon Locke, where the ring is going to be, I'm assuming going to be a region you can't choose to start in, since there are 8 rings of power that say you can choose a region. I am guessing that you can start in any region other than Amon Locke with the one ring. In addition to there being 8 starting regions, there are going to be 90 total regions or zones, or whatever they kind of have used the word region or like territory for like main big areas, but then they've kind of talked about them being divided into smaller zones. So I believe when they talk about there being 90 regions, they're talking about really zones where a few of these will make up one actual territory that we're used to from what I'm seeing so far. So there are going to be 90 of these. As you can see, it's kind of a lot going on the map here. And there are going to be scout towers, I believe, in each of these areas. And so again, we'll cover it in a second, but the scout towers are going to be like keeps that you would take to capture certain areas. It's just divided into smaller portions. There are scout tower buffs. And so right here, this might be different for every single zone. But for this specific one they give us, it says the scout tower buff is land tiles get plus 30% durability. Now, in addition to there being the scout towers, there are still going to be the main capital or keep areas, whatever you want to call them, which is pictured down a little bit lower than the first one. And when you have the actual keep and all the scout towers, you're going to have full control which are going to give you the buffs that are listed here, which is 200% reposition speed, 50% reinforcement, and march speed. You're going to have the function to relocate and the function to long march. So again, a lot of the same things that we would have just capturing a region. You take the keep, you have the region, but there are going to be other objectives needed, specifically the scout towers, needed to have that and have full control over these areas. Now, specifically on scout towers, they gave some like history and background. I'm going to leave that out, but basically it was an undocumented war between good and evil, where good used the scout towers. Not super relevant to the gameplay happening, but they do make a point to say that there are still dark forces defending these towers, but it's weaker and weaker than landmarks and cities. And the walls are also much weaker. So it sounds like these scout towers are going to be things that are meant to be taken over by really one person. And I'll explain why I think it's going to be the case in a second, because they do talk about city locations being more spread out, which I'll show in just a second. So they go through and they show this is what they would consider a typical like normal season, just cities everywhere. You've got someone next to you, but they say that they're going to be spread out much further, which means you're going to have to work on your own for a little bit longer. And then they make a point to say that you can actually be foe or friend with someone. So they have the represented by the red and blue in terms of if they're friendly or not. They say because of the distance, you're not going to be able to tell if it is someone who is friendly or if it's someone who is an enemy. So if we go back here to this picture where you can choose your 8 regions, to me, just because you choose a specific region or a starting area does not necessarily mean all of those people in that area are choosing to fight on the same team. Because again, if you choose that area and you get next to someone, they're saying there's a chance that could be an enemy. So it's not like choosing a faction where it's like, hey, whether you like it or not, you got to work together. It really seems like everyone kind of is going in solo, which is again why I think that the scout towers are going to be able to be. I mean, again, 160 keeps can be soloed. So if they're saying they're easier than keeps and those kind of structures, I'm thinking it's going to be something that is intended for players to start expanding on their own in these areas to take these. And then as they grow in power or take regions or gain control of a ring, then they can establish these teams that I think people could like align or pledge to or whatever it looks like, which would become more like a proper faction. But it doesn't seem like, depending on where you start, means that's one team. So my only thought here is it's going to be interesting to see how this works out for teams. They've introduced bag end. They've introduced the team registration, which has been really good. They've tried to kind of make it so they can just see how many players they have going into seasons and hopefully add some balance. So I'm not sure exactly how this will work because, again, I don't know what the point of going into bag end would be and signing up in a team, because they're saying part of this is that you play solo. So maybe your team can all be scattered in the same area. But again, to me, if they're trying to push the kind of solo or like smaller group play, maybe, I don't know how signing up with a group of 100 would work. So I am curious on that, which will, I think, either deter or excite a lot of people for the season, because again, myself, been playing with the same group now. Going season 6 would be my 4th season with the group, the group 6th season. So if there's something that's going to happen that's going to for sure split that up or really throw that up in the air. That being said, who's to say that you can't just go in randomly, but then once a leader or someone within your group gets to the point of being able to establish a kingdom, you can join from any region. I don't know how it's going to work, but again, we'll have to stay tuned to find out if they clarify how it's going to work with teams that we're used to. And wrapping up, last but not least, this was already mentioned before, but they clarified it again. We are going to have Umbar and Harad as new areas, both of which are going to have a Ring of Power and be a area you can start in a starting region. And they give us the stats for the capitals there, which it's just the same as any other capital. So no big surprise here, but just 1,000 power, 40 million durability, level 48, level 48 armies, there's 40 of them. So that is that. And then you can see here the same thing with Umbar. So again, no crazy surprises. I think the biggest thing, to be honest, is just they're talking about the friend or foe thing from close by. I think makes me wonder exactly how that's going to work out for team play mechanic. And then just looking at the confirmed, like there's no factions. You don't just get put in randomly. I think you are going to pick a specific region to start in. So I think those are the interesting tidbits here, and we get a little bit of confirmation on things that were kind of clear, but again, they really like to slowly roll this stuff out and be kind of cryptic about it. So we really won't know for sure how it looks until we get in, but I do think this gives us a good idea. You're going to go in. I'm assuming you'll still go into back end. You'll start the season. You'll pick a region to start in, and then more individually, you'll have to expand and take these scout towers to unify regions and start growing and building, at which point I think you'd be able to form some kind of a fellowship or warband or a kingdom, which again, I believe you could have anybody join. I don't think it's going to be dependent on where you start, because there are no like set races or regions from what they're saying. They're saying we're all descendants of ancient Numenorians, so we're not a part of like what's been going on, what we've been used to for 5 seasons. So that's my thought. And then as you expand, you'll take territory like normal, and conquer and possibly have multiple rings if you're taking other ones out. I'm not sure. All the way leading up to the one ring, and that being still the end goal. So it's going to shake up the early and mid game a lot, I feel like, in like the team composition thing going on. But I think since they're keeping the one ring in here, the end goal is still going to be the same. It's just going to be a little bit different getting there, which to me, it sounds really exciting. I'm really excited for it if they don't really break up how team play works, because to me, it's a team game. It's very fun. I like the idea of having a little bit early game where you really have to just be out there and get your stuff going to then, become a part of that team. But if that period becomes too long to where it's just like, I'm just playing solo, like this is kind of strange, I don't think I'm going to personally enjoy that. So again, that's all the information we have here. I'm going to link the 5 videos down below if you want to watch through those. I left a few slides out that I didn't think were important to like actual season information, but everything else was covered here. So if you want to watch those yourself, those will be linked down below. But as always, let me know what you all think. Are you excited for this? It seems like there's kind of mixed responses so far on what people think about this. So I'd be curious to hear if this makes you lean one way or the other. I'm still pretty neutral, but I'm excited for it because new areas, new objectives, those are the things that I want and I'm asking for, as long as it doesn't break up the things that I do enjoy. So I'm going to stay hopeful that that's going to continue with the good things I like in the game and just add more objectives, add more territories. But we'll see, obviously, as they keep releasing information and as it comes out. So that's going to do it for me in this one. I hope to see you all in a future video. Have a great day.